Pleasant day to all of you out there, our viewers and followers of Agenda. Thank you for joining us today once again. And I do hope you are all well and doing fine. Today is March 28, 2022. It's a Monday. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV and also following us via YouTube or Facebook on facebook.com/onenewsph. And thank you to PLDT for their home fiber optic internet. Thank you, Mr. Marco Borlongan, for your support. Yan po, okay? PLDT home fiber optic internet, Baguio, Batangas, and now here in Pasig, in Barangay Capitolio here in Pasig, we have sustained our transmission, and so thank you for your internet service. Now, today, we are going to have, as always, or normally, our normal programming, we will have two guests. The first guest will be to brighten your week. It will be someone representing the Manila International Auto Show, MIAS 2022, in the person of my good friend Alvin Uy. And we will be talking about I think it's the first motor show for the year, because this weekend there was already the motorcycle show. And on April 7, I believe, there will be the MIAS, but I'll ask Alvin to correct me if I was wrong. We will be talking about the Manila International Auto Show. And after our interview with Mr. Alvin Uy, we will speak with Olexander Nechytaylo, Ambassador of Ukraine to the Philippines, Malaysia, and Timor Leste. We will be talking about the situation in Ukraine, what's ahead, what are they doing, and what are ambassadors forced to do because he's here in the Philippines. What are his duties in this time of war with Russia? But before we go into that, let's go to our daily starter. Our daily starter is from Gerald Hodges. Now, baka magtaka kayo, who is Gerald Hodges? He is a young Afro-American student who, could have been into football, could have been in basketball, could have been in soccer, but he decided to be a swimmer in his high school team. But the interesting thing is he didn't know how to swim. He didn't know how to swim. He had to learn. That's how bad the team was. That's how kulelat the team was. But Gerald decided, to increase his level of difficulty. And because of that, he learned how to swim and became the anchor for their team. And they actually got into the finals or something. So you can look for it on YouTube. But this is what the young boy Gerald Hodges said. Easy is good for 5 minutes. Okay, if you just want something easy, then go for the easy option. Pero that only lasts usually 5 minutes. But for the future, hard is a better option. So for all of you who are faced with a choice, easy way out, easy solution, easy options, well, that's a short term. And if you want something more permanent, then do it properly. Do it better, do it properly, and I'm sure that you will never regret it. Kasi po ako, habang tumatanda, I have come to adopt that rule. Do it right the first time. You don't have to do it all over again. Okay, now before we go to the front page of the Philippine Star, just in case you notice that nabubulol po ako this morning, or I'm stammering, or I'm like eating some words every now and then, please bear with me. I just had an emergency root canal yesterday. I'm all good. The pain is being handled by my medicine, but I noticed that the root canal and the anesthesia and all kind of affects me, and baka sabihin ninyo namamatanda na ako. Hindi po. Natrabaho lang ako ng dentista kahapon. I just kind of wonder which is more painful, the root canal or the 15,000 I had to pay. Ganun na pala kamahal magpa-root canal. We have to have a guest dentist on the show. Anyway, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star for today, March 28, 2022, Monday. There you go. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines has issued a pastoral letter saying, don't buy and don't sell your votes. Okay, yan po panawagan ng CBCP to the Catholic faithful. Please don't buy votes if you are a candidate, and please don't sell your votes if you are a voter. Okay. Now, at the top of the front page, the header, BPO employees want return to work order suspended. Many business processing groups, employees have declared, expressed their opposition to the return to work, return to face-to-face order of the DOF, etc. Meanwhile, that photo at the top of the Philippine Star is a photo of a Chinese Coast Guard ship alongside a Philippine Coast Guard ship, or Philippine, BRP Malabrigo in Panatag show last March 2. March 2 pa po yan. However, it is a photo that shows how reckless or intimidating or aggressive Chinese Coast Guard ships have become, to the point that they would risk collision with Philippine ships. So yan po, and I'm sure napatawag na naman yung kanilang ambassador to the Philippines. But that is a point of concern. And then below that, we have a photo of the Rizal Park, Rizal Monument, where lights went out, except for that some spotlights there. Visitors strolled through Rizal Park during Earth Hour last Saturday night. The park's lights were switched off for 60 minutes, starting at 8:30 p.m. as the country participated in the annual Global Environmental Awareness Campaign. Okay. Meanwhile, Duterte drug war flouts international conventions, according to the UN body. Okay. Yan po. The United Nations-backed International Narcotics Control Board reiterated that extrajudicial responses or killings to drug-related criminality are in violation of international drug control conventions. Okay. Meanwhile, free MRT3 rides start today. Libre po ang sakay sa lahat ng MRT3 today, ngayong araw, until April 30, except during their Holy Week maintenance schedule. So, yun po, take advantage for those of you who don't want to drive because, oh my gas, ang taas. Okay. Meanwhile, Taal Volcano is at it again. Alert level 3 has been declared last Saturday morning and is still in effect in around the Taal Island, crater, etc., because nagpaparamdam po. It's been spewing a lot of gas, clouds, etc. Meanwhile, the Senate will resume its investigation probe on agri-smuggling today. Vice Presidential candidate and Senate President Vicente Tito Soto has announced that they will resume the investigation at the Senate regarding the unabated smuggling of agricultural products, especially the increase of smuggling ever since the anti-smuggling, agricultural smuggling law was passed. Ayan na po, kung kailan nagkabatas, dun pa tumaas ang smuggling, parang Fire Prevention Month. Kung kailan may Fire Prevention Month, doon pinakamarami ang sunog. But let's now move to the interview proper. And with us today is, hindi ko po ito kinahiya, pinagmamalaki ko. He's a good friend, he's a faithful friend, a very humble person. He is also the co-organizer and essentially siya dati, ito, makapal dati buhok nito, medyo numipis na ng konti because he would always be so busy organizing the Manila International Auto Show. Now, the question is, because of all of the pandemics, the lockdowns, what will it be like this year? Let's bring in Mr. Alvin Uy, co-organizer, MIAS 2022. Sorry, Alvin, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having us again.
Okay, well, I guess you are going to be one of the starters for the summer holidays. It has been tradition here in Metro Manila that when the month of April rolls in, it rolls in on four wheels, meaning yung Manila International Auto Show. Alvin, please go ahead. Tell us what's in store for MIAS 2022.
We're very excited about having this show. It's coming up soon, April 7. It's a Thursday. It will end on a Sunday, April 10. Well, perhaps unlike our BPO industry, we're very excited to have face-to-face events, and we're very encouraged by the turnout of last weekend's motorcycle show. Our friend Alcamba, he successfully organized the annual Inside Racing Festival. I was there yesterday. We were looking at the crowd. It was well managed. The safety protocols are mostly observed, and there was a queue. It's probably because you have to show your Vax ID before you can get in. But once you get in, it's fairly okay. I felt very safe going around. And we expect more or less a similar turnout for our own show.
Okay, what's in store for us as far as the recent version is concerned? Because a lot of people are wondering, will there be a lot of motoring brands participating, etc.? Because that's always been the big question. May mga reveal ba? Are there going to be new models, etc.?
What's exciting every year about having the MIAS is it's always a platform for the car brands to launch their new models for the year. April, usually it's a good start. Once you introduce a new model, sometimes it comes out right away in the market. Sometimes it comes out later after a few months. But they would usually tease the public already to showcase their latest products, latest models. They do formal launches. There's usually a song and dance number. The CEO would give some talk. And usually our first day is what we call the media day, but it's also open to the public. The media covers it, and the reveal is made during the first day. And the cars are shown all throughout the 4-day show. We've had some new brands, some comeback brands as well to the show. And we expect about maybe around 10 new models to be unveiled that day.
Okay, I know I saw on Facebook that Cherry, the Cherry Automotive brand is joining for the first time, if
Mhm.
I'm not mistaken. How many other China-based companies will be joining this year's MIAS?
It's an interesting observation. We were also monitoring the chatter in social media. Some viewers were saying, "Oh, there's more Chinese brands this year." Definitely, there will be a few more. We'll have Geely as well. Cherry would be there. Cherry is actually a regular brand already. They've
Mm-hmm.
been showcasing I think, a few years already. Exciting. What's exciting about Cherry is they're teasing already in their social media that they have an electrified new model vehicle to be unveiled. Sometimes the brand they don't exactly say what model would be unveiled until last minute.
Yeah.
Same case with Cherry. They're just teasing it's an electrified model, so it's most probably a hybrid model of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
We'll also have some European brands and US brands as well.
Okay,
Japanese brands as well.
who are the loyal brands that are committed to always join the MIA, especially this year?
This year, we have what are the big ones? The big ones would be the Subaru. They usually have a 600-700 square meter footprint. Nissan has upsized this year. They'll have quite a similar footprint, around 600 square meters. And Cherry actually upsized also. Cherry is almost 500 square meters.
You're also a motoring journalist, Alvin. Now, with this upsizing or coming in with a bigger footprint or more models, does this tell you that the market has become so competitive, or does it mean that the market is so eager to buy? You know, like everyone's talking about revenge buying and in the likes, also in terms of the fact that pricing seems to be highly competitive nowadays.
I believe it's pricing. When you say aggressive, it would be more on giving better value proposition, I suppose. They'll pack more features, especially with the newer brands. They give you more bang for the buck. They add additional specifications, features. You mentioned the Chinese brands. They've really gone a long way since when they first entered the market.
Mm-hmm.
One example would be Geely.
Yeah.
They're going to be in MIAS for the first time. They've landed top 10 in terms of number of sales. So it's a very interesting development
Yeah, they're apparently getting a lot of traction and a lot of attention because
Mhm.
I've had conversations with some motoring enthusiasts, and they were telling me that Geely has been coming out with really attractive models and that are very competitive even with the European brands.
That's right.
No, okay. What about the show itself? So you're going to have the usual array of manufacturers, a lot of cars. Are there going to be special features? Because in the past, I remember you would always have the vintage car section. You would have never before seen models. I remember when Ford displayed the Ford GTO, etc. What are the special attractions for this year?
Uh, the classic cars, vintage cars, and even custom modded cars are always an eye candy for car shows. We always put emphasis on that. We actually hold um, show competitions also. The highest award would be the best of show.
Mm.
It's usually awarded to the best custom modded or best restored vehicle in the lineup. We'll have about 40 to 50 cars again this year. It's co-presented by Petron.
Okay.
As we all know, the big boss there, Mr. Ramon Ang, is an avid car collector. So
That's an understatement. He
He
probably
comes
has
to
the
our show every
biggest.
year, actually.
He probably has the biggest collection of high value and classic cars in the
Right.
Philippines. But he's to the bone a collector
That's
and
right.
a restorer.
So that in itself, it's a whole new community one can explore.
Mhm.
What's good about having Mias each year is it also gives you some sort of an industry trend. Like right now, I was looking at the lineup last weekend. We're seeing more SUVs, 4x4s with off-road setups, even camping setups. You
Mhm.
have those origami like pop-up roof tents that are attached to the roof.
Mhm.
Um, Camping seems to be a trend these days, and overland. They call it overlanding, actually.
Yeah, we featured Joel Pedro here in the
Mm.
program and his company Overlanders. It's good that you mentioned the trend towards SUV. Does this mean that there will be more SUVs and pickups? Because like I've been looking into that market, into that lineup. In fact, I'm currently test driving the Mitsubishi Strada Athlete, and
Mm.
I noticed that pickups during my time in the 1970s, they were bare bone pickups. You had thin steel rims, uh, plain paint, etc., minimum instrumentation. But now it's like driving a luxury SUV with a pickup in the rear. What will it be like in your motor show?
We'll definitely have some new pickups in showcase. And you're right. Actually, they're very plush. They ride well. They ride much better now, with very little compromise in load capacity. Suspension is very important for pickups because you have to weigh in, balance out with capacity and ride comfort.
Mhm.
But nowadays, they most brands do a good job in doing that.
Okay, I noticed that in the SUV or in the mid-size SUV market, the products are beginning to look alike. What is the trend now? Is it really towards about pricing so that they are now selling practically the same looking models, or this mid-size market? What
So
are your thoughts on them?
it's a very interesting observation because most brands now serve the global market.
Mhm.
So that means the design language has to suit the taste of several regions. That's probably why there's some sort of synchronicity in
Mhm.
terms of design language. They kind of sort of look the same, but a bit different from each other. So I guess that would be the effect.
Okay, so you have the lineup of major brands and Chinese brands. Any other manufacturing groups that are going to be participating? Because you already have China. What about the Korean brands?
Korean, this year we unfortunately don't have the Korean brands. The two strong Korean labels
Yeah,
will
they
not be
seem to have
present
gone.
right now.
They seem to have gone below the radar in the last 2 years. So people have been asking me about that. So they're not participating in the 2022 Mias.
Currently, no,
Okay.
unfortunately. We hope to have them back again next year, though.
Mhm. Now, okay, so the Koreans won't be there. The Chinese brands will be there. American, European brands will be there. Now, what about the many of your visitors or guests that join me as also go for the accessories or
Oh, yes.
trinkets, etc., or stuff that they can buy for their vehicles. What are you offering this year?
This year we'll have a lot of those overlanding equipment on display, and then the usual tires, batteries, and accessories market as well.
Mhm.
We'll be launching a few new tire models. Michelin's doing something quite big this year. They'll have something for the supercars. There's a couple of new models for that. And Black Rhino wheels and Method Racing wheels. Method Racing wheels will be a new addition to our lineup.
Mhm.
It's it's high. It's a it's a high performance label for the SUV off-road market.
Mhm.
And we'll be launching a few more. We'll have some new battery brands as well. Um, so it'll be exciting, and it'll be value driven, as I said before. Usually in Mia's, you go there not only just to see everything under one roof, but you also get bargains and values as well. We'll be
Yeah.
doing a lot of promos.
Okay. What are the any tip-offs regarding bargains and promos before we end our interview?
Usually you have to go around just like shopping in a mall.
Mhm.
It's they usually they're very good at attracting visitors. They practically would have promo sales, freebies, and things like that. And aside from that, we also have a lineup of die-cast scale scale models on display,
Mhm.
which you can buy and sell. We'll have a swap meet every day there. So collectors actually would go there, bring their own collection of die-cast toys that you can buy or trade. Oh,
Okay.
this year also, oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
This year we'll also have a large Lego display.
Mhm.
Lego is very much into vehicles lately. So we'll have a full-scale Jeep on display with a scale Lego. Uh, they'll also have promos for that. Once you visit the store, they'll give you a QR code which you can redeem when you buy in their retail shops. We'll also have motorcycles, a BMW and a Ducati's Lego scale model on display as well.
Okay. Well, Alvin, last question before you go. Please l- inform our viewers what the protocol is, what is the process for those who want to go to the Manila International Auto Show. You said you have to go online, etc., etc.
Oh yes, we actually to ease the queuing, we you can go to the Manila Auto Show website um, and actually purchase tickets online. There's a portal you can go, you pay online, and they'll send you a QR code, and you just show up there, show your QR code, and they'll let you in. But before that, you have to make sure to bring your vaccination ID. For children, as long as you have a partial vaccination ID to show, they'll let you in as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alvin. And as always, we wish you all the best. Good luck to the 4-day show. And we hope that our friends, viewers, get to join you there at the World Trade Expo, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's happening at the World Trade Center, Pasay City, from April 7 to 10. We
Oh,
hope your readers would visit us.
okay, thank you very much, Mr. Alvin Uy, co-organizer of the Manila International Auto Show version 2022. Next up, we will be speaking with His Excellency Ambassador of Ukraine to the Philippines, Olexander Nechytaylo, after the quick break. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda, and I'm your host, Cito Beltran. And just as an update on the Ukrainian situation, the Philippines has joined 139 other countries in voting for a United Nations General Assembly resolution on the humanitarian consequences of the aggression against Russia. The European Union thanked the Philippine government for voting in favor of the resolution. President Joe Biden called Russian President Vladimir Putin a butcher after visiting refugees in Warsaw, Poland. Last week, Biden, for the first time, called Putin a war criminal and then later referred to him as a murderous dictator, a pure thug who is waging an immoral war against people of Ukraine. And the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S., Oksana Markarova, tore into Russia over its invasion of her country, saying it's a terrorist state led by a war criminal. Now, at least 5 people were reportedly injured last Saturday after 2 missiles struck Lviv, Ukraine. U.S. Ambassador Julian Smith told NATO that there's no evidence yet that the Kremlin will limit their sights on the Donbas region. But we are here in the Philippines, so let's find out in terms of activity and concerns, what is the Ukrainian ambassador to the Philippines involved in? We have with us His Excellency Olexander Nechytaylo. Ambassador Nechitailo, good morning to you, sir.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, it's just a conversation, not a question and answer program. So, well, if you would, we'd just like to find out how are you? What are your activities as ambassador? Because we are quite a distance from Ukraine, and I know it must be so frustrating for you not to be in the fight and trying to find ways to help.
It is indeed a difficult time for all of us, for all Ukrainians, both in the country and outside. However, we believe that being a diplomat, being an ambassador is equally important as fighting on the field, because what is happening in Ukraine is actually the implications will be much more than Europe, much more than Ukraine. We are talking about now the sanctity of the international law. We are talking about the new world order. And of course, it is important to fight at all fronts. And diplomatic front is equally important.
Okay, now, are you in the Philippines or are you in Malaysia right now?
I'm based in Kuala Lumpur. In pre-COVID time, I used to travel to Manila every 3-4 months to meet different officials, business people, etc., etc. However, since COVID time, it's been a while.
Okay,
in fact,
so
Ukraine made the decision last year open a new diplomatic mission in Manila. However, because again of COVID and all this situation, those plans most probably will be put on hold for a while.
okay, what is the situation among diplomats, particularly between you and your Russian counterpart? Because here in Manila, the Russian ambassador to the Philippines had written an opinion piece which was actually a rewrite of the propaganda of Russia regarding the Ukraine invasion. And it created quite a disturbance among diplomats here. Practically every diplomat gave a reaction on Instagram, Twitter, even on Facebook, condemning the statement. But what about there in Kuala Lumpur? How do you relate with the Russian diplomat, or what do diplomats do when you are in a far country, but there is war in your own backyard?
Of course, the relations between the countries reflect on the relationship between. If you are in a position of ambassador, you are not a private citizen, you represent your country. Therefore, it's very unfortunate to see that this became an extension of the Russian propaganda machine. We are not talking even about pure diplomacy now. We are talking about just amplifying the propaganda narratives. And it's quite unfortunate because it's been always the case when Russian diplomacy was considered to be one of the most respected in the world. However, I feel very sorry about the colleagues from Russia because they are in a position, even if they disagree with the line, they have to amplify those messages. As far as Ukraine is concerned, it's easy for us because we are speaking the truth. We are trying to deliver what the real situation on since the truth is on our side, we are always in a stronger position. I was very impressed by the reaction of the diplomatic corps in Manila on the piece that you mentioned of the Russian ambassador opinion that was published in the press. Similar in KL, I enjoy a lot of support from my colleagues from different countries, not just limited to the European Union and US. I receive a lot of personal messages of encouragement, both official and personal. So it keeps us going and it keeps us motivated that the crimes that are being committed by the Russians in Ukraine will not be unpunished.
Okay, I wrote about an I wrote an article in the Philippine Star today where I shared my discovery that in Ukraine, farmers and veterinarians and people who are involved in the production of food and related food security are exempt from going to the front line or going to battle because the government wants them to continue producing food because that's the next concern. Now, for you as a diplomat, what's your assignment? What particularly are you supposed to do in a situation like this?
Making sure that we have very strong solidarity among the international community. We have to isolate the aggressor. We have to make sure that all official diplomatic and trade ties with Russia is being either limited or seized. Since Russia is violating the international law, there should be no business as usual. And you rightly mentioned that Ukraine is a major contributor to the world food security. Ukraine is one of the major exporters of wheat, corn, sunflower to the countries of Southeast Asia, including the Philippines and Malaysia. And of course, what is happening now, March is planting season in Ukraine. Therefore, it is important to make sure that all the farmers being available to planting on time, because if Ukraine fails to produce the crop, the whole world will be affected. The whole world food security system will be affected. In terms of what we do also here in Kuala Lumpur and in Manila, we are trying to deliver the message that every dollar that is made trading will be used to finance the criminal war in Ukraine. Therefore, it's important to isolate, to cripple the Kremlin's ability to conduct and to continue the war.
Okay, there is an international decision or action to not to trade or do business with Russia. But what is being done by the international community, NATO, and to help Ukraine to be able to ship out their produce? Because as you pointed out, you're second in the world in terms of corn and wheat. And in the papers today, the Philippines will be importing so much corn and the region needs so much wheat. How will Ukraine get it out? Is there a plan on the side to get this product so that Ukraine can have the money and the world can have the grains?
Absolutely, we are working on a different logistics solution. One of it is to move the crops, the grains, by train, by the railway. From Ukraine, it goes to the neighboring countries in Eastern Europe, and on it's been shipped by the sea. Since all the trains been blocked by the Russian Navy now, the most viable and the most reliable solution for this kind of situation. Even as we speak, I read that the first batch of Ukrainian corn being shipped to Poland, and from Poland by train, and then from Poland it will go through the seaport to the client. So Ukraine being a responsible member of the community, we are making sure that even under those very difficult circumstances, we fulfill all our obligations.
What is the feeling on the ground or among Ukrainians regarding this war with Russia? Are you just, because you have no choice, you're just going to sit it out and fight to the last man? Or do you believe that it will be resolved sometime in the next 2 months or 3 months? How much longer can Ukrainians resist Russia without the NATO imposing a no-fly zone?
We are broken, but our will and our strength and our determination to resist is not broken. We are defending our land and we are standing there. We are not going to give up. We are protecting our freedom, our way of life, our shared values, and therefore we're not going to last. We don't know because we are not the one who started this campaign, but we will be the one who to make sure that the righteous people, the righteous cause will win. So important, of course, to receive the international support in terms of weapons, in terms of financial aid from, as you mentioned, European Union, from NATO countries, from some bilateral partners. However, at the end of the day, it's the determination of people that is gonna win. And what we see on the field is basically that although the overwhelming Russians keep trying to attack us, they failed to achieve any single serious military objective. And the ground is the morale of the people is very strong. People refuse to leave. I can tell you from the members of my family. My brother and my father, they are in Kiev and they refuse to leave because they believe it's our city. So for Ukrainians, it's a people's war. Those who can take up the arms, they take up the arms and fight. Those who can help with other ways, like being a volunteer or being a helper in the hospital, they do that. So the whole nation is there, and I don't see any way Russia is going to win this war. Going to stand up and fight, and I'm sure Ukraine will prevail.
Okay, now, as far as your area of or your area of responsibility is concerned, which is the Philippines, Malaysia, and Timor Leste, what support or offers have you received from the governments of those nations and private sectors or individuals? Because more and more people, civilians and former soldiers have been flying to Poland, entering Ukraine to fight in your war. But as far as Timor-Leste, Malaysia, and the Philippines are concerned, what are the offerings made to you?
We're receiving a lot of help, a lot of practical help. The government approved 1.5 million US dollars to help Ukraine through the World Food Program, which is amazing in itself because for Timor, 1.5 million US dollars is a big amount, and therefore we really appreciate participation of the government of Timor Leste in the international humanitarian relief efforts. We are also working with the government here in Malaysia and with different NGOs to consolidate and to channel the assistance, the humanitarian assistance that is going to be going to Ukraine. For the Philippines, we have submitted the list of the urgent needed items, food items and medications that are needed in Ukraine right now. And we hope that the Philippine government will also work with us closely on that. As far as the corporate sector is concerned, we've received some offers to help in kind, like with some food, with some oatmeal, etc., powder milk. So now the major issue is also logistics, because to deliver the goods from Southeast Asia to Ukraine is not so easy. But we are trying to address it. We have established few hubs in the neighboring countries, in Poland, in Romania, and Slovakia. So generally, it's been shipped there, and from there it's been distributed all across Ukraine to the most needed areas.
What about in terms of, because in the Philippines, I can only think that we excel in terms of medicine, in terms of doctors and nurses. Have you heard from any group here in the Philippines offering to go there and to help the refugees in Poland or the wounded civilians and combatants in Ukraine?
I know there is an ongoing effort, both individual and collective. There are different charity foundations in the Philippines that have been in touch with the embassy. They are helping in terms of financial donations through various international organizations. However, in terms of the individual, quite a number of volunteers going to Poland, nurses, some doctors that are helping there at the field hospitals and the refugee camps there.
Okay, well, many people were surprised with the level of preparedness or the ability of Ukrainian military and the territorial defense force to react to the Russian aggression. People were wondering, where did the Ukrainians get this training? How come they are so prepared? When did this all begin? Because people were saying this takes years, this takes a lot of money. How did Ukraine put all of this together?
Indeed, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of resources. Ukraine, independent since 1991, has been always a very peaceful country. We did not intend to fight any war. And what happened in 2014 when Russia invaded Crimea and the southeastern part of Ukraine made impact on how we built our country. It reinforced our military. We now spend around 6% of our GDP on the defense spending. And to reinforce, again, our capabilities, we work very closely with our allies in terms of training, in terms of energy. And those efforts, these 8 years of preparation, these 8 years of fighting proxy war with Russia, paid good yield, because so far, as you see, the military objective of Russia have not been achieved. We managed to defend, to stop the enemy, and to effectively fight back in a lot of areas, not just in the central and south part of Ukraine, but also in other areas which are critically important to make sure that the government remains in the full control. And let me tell you one also very important factor, that again, people's will is equal, and our president being a real hero, standing there in Ukraine, in Kiev, on the streets of Kiev, supporting our citizens, our military. So he's been a great inspiration to all of us.
Okay, now I have so many questions, Mr. Ambassador. I'm getting confused already. But what was the policy in Ukraine? You said it took 8 years to build up this ability, this capability. Now, I know that Canada was very involved. Some NATO countries were involved. But was there like a law, a grand plan? Because some people in the Philippines have suggested that we should have mandatory military service, that every citizen should have military training in the professional army. How did Ukraine go about it?
In Ukraine, we do have mandatory military service. However, we also have the professional army, and generally what you see on the ground now is the result of the strategies that was developed 8 years ago, how to make sure that the most combat-ready units are being professionally trained on a basis. They participate in different exercises, they play different scenarios, and therefore they are, in terms of preparedness, they are most effective now on the field. In terms of the conscripts, they are playing very important role. Usually they are not on the front line, but they are important also in providing the logistic support and all other that is needed to make the whole operational forces very effective on the ground.
So Ukraine engaged with different countries, because like right now here in Manila, we have the Balikatan exercises, the US-Philippine military exercises, the biggest ever. And so in terms of preparedness, Ukraine did many of that with different countries?
Absolutely. We did it on a bilateral basis, and we did it also joint military exercises NATO countries. Don't forget that Ukraine officially applied for membership in NATO, and it's enshrined in the constitution. And that's the process that requires a lot of efforts in terms of realignment of the compatibility, military strategy, etc., etc. So it's been a process. And again, what we see on the field now, it's the result of years of thorough preparation.
Okay, what is the situation now as far as the conflict is concerned? Because Russia has said that they will just pull back to the Donbass area, and then people are saying that the Russians are getting beaten, but there are many towns in Ukraine that have been leveled to the ground. What do you make of all of this, Ambassador?
It's very unfortunate that the civilians have to pay a very heavy price for this invasion. As of now, we are talking about 11 million refugees, 6.5 million internally displaced persons, and another 3.5 million Ukrainians fleeing overseas. So we've seen all these horrific images from Mariupol, from Kharkiv, where cities with millennial history being flattened to the ground by the indiscriminate bombing, indiscriminate shelling. And that's unfortunately the strategy that was used by the Russians previously in the two wars in Syria, when the cities were bombed and civilians were suffering. So in terms of the solution of the conflict, the solution can be only one. Until the last invader leaves Ukraine, we're not going to rest. And things like sovereignty and territorial integrity are sacred for us. For the final solution, in our opinion, should include the full withdrawal of Russian forces from all Ukraine, and that includes Crimea, by the way, and the temporary Donbass. So then we are talking about the victory. However, in terms of moral victory, in terms of the battle of the will, I believe we already won, because Russians were expecting it to get finished within 72 hours. Interestingly enough, some of the captured soldiers, Russian soldiers, they were coming to Ukraine with the ratio only for 72 hours. So after they didn't have enough food even to sustain, no fuel. They were not properly dressed for that weather. A lot of Russian soldiers get frostbite because it was cold at night. But instead, they were bringing the uniform for the parade in Kiev. So probably that was the priority. That was the original plan. And if you look at what is happening on the ground now, the morale of the Russian soldiers is very low. A lot of them been surrendering. A lot of them are trying to inflict self-injury to make sure that they will no longer be on the front line. So in that sense, we have already won.
Okay, I was so captivated by what you were saying. Now, here's a question. I don't know if it's a polite question, Mr. Ambassador, because you are a diplomat, but I think I am one of many people who have been wondering, because the Russians have been using artillery fire, leveling all the buildings, the cities, towns, etc. But some people like me kind of wonder, why are the Ukrainians not shooting at Russia? You have taken a defensive position within your territory, but sorry, we're not war freaks, but you know, it's kind of one a thought, you know, why are Ukrainian military not shooting into Russian territory?
We are in a defensive war, and we exercise our right on self-defense. It's been active what we do in Ukraine, but let me assure you, if there is a need to strike any targets outside Ukrainian territory, don't hesitate to do that.
Okay, well, that I do hope it doesn't come to that, Mr. Ambassador. Now, last question: why should Malaysians, Filipinos, and I don't know what Timorese, I think Timorese people be concerned and show support for Ukraine in this a very difficult time?
I think it's just not the matter of pure empathy. What is happening in Ukraine will have a profound impact on the world, and it will have impact on every person's life. Look, Ukraine is a major factor for security. So we already see that the oil prices in the world market is increasing. means that it will affect every consumer in the Philippines, in Timor, or in Malaysia. So in terms of human suffering, 11 million refugees. So absolutely unacceptable situation in the 21st century. In terms of the impact world order, if we allow Russia to win, if we allow blackmail democracies and independent nations and try to bend rules using the slogan "might is right," then it will have a profound impact on the small countries in this region. You know how difficult it can be, the territorial disputes and other issues here. So that may create the precedent that can be very dangerous for the world affairs. So whether you're in a position of business, whether you're a simple consumer, whether you're a diplomat or a military, everybody should think what kind of long-term and short-term impact this situation, this war is going to have. And I believe, quite unfortunate though, nobody will be spared. So everybody will feel the effect one way or another. So therefore, I believe it has to be a concerted effort to make sure that we will achieve peace as soon as possible. Still trying to recover from the COVID pandemic. The damage for the economy is already very substantial. So the war is the last thing that the world needs right now.
Okay, well, Mr. Ambassador, we stand with Ukraine, and we will pray that your people will find help and relief very soon. And thank you for standing your ground and doing a great job. Have a good day, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's Ambassador Olexander Nechytaylo, Ambassador of Ukraine to the Philippines, Timor Leste, and Malaysia. And there you heard it from the ambassador. If you think that Ukraine is not your concern, think again. Corn, wheat, a lot of food products come from Ukraine. The oil prices have been affected. And last but not the least, we have problems of big bullies in our own backyard. Okay, now let's close the program with the blessing for the week. And our blessing is an Irish blessing for all of you. And now on may the raindrops fall lightly on your brow. May the soft winds freshen your spirit. May the sunshine brighten your heart. May the burdens of the day rest lightly upon you, and may God enfold you in the mantle of his love. And that's today's agenda. Please keep it here on One News PH. God bless all of you.